Hey guys, it's Melissa, and this is off season. My nephew, my great nephew, my niece's son, graduated, and I will show you in this video how I made my very first balloon art. It went from this look to this look because the weather didn't cooperate, but in this video, I'll show you how. So my idea design started with these two round arches and these chip bags that I created. And to be clear, I created these chip bags maybe 8 months ago. I just waited to stuff them until closer to the time. And then I went out and I purchased a bunch of flowers. And y'all, I got a great deal on these flowers. Normally this would have been maybe what, $200 almost, but because I went to Sam's to get them, they had a sign saying $19 and something. Well, of course I didn't want to pay $19 and something, but I was willing to get at least 4 of them, and so I did that. But when I got to the register, the girl said, "Oh, they're $4.91 each." And I'm like, "What? Let me go back and get some more." So that's what I did. And that's how I ended up with so many beautiful flowers. And they were beautiful. So normally, yes, you would spend bukus of money on flowers, but always look for the good deals. Okay, that's number 1 tip. Okay. And also to keep things simple and cost effective, I used simple clear cups as my vases to stick down into my brown containers that I'm showing here. I purchased those containers from Kirkland's and they were actually on clearance. So I ended up getting 7. And so that was a deal within itself. And I did not intend on using these for this graduation event. But when I put the flowers in the clear cup and stuck it down in the candle holder, because they are really candle holders, it looked so good. So I was going to go with all clear vases, but I decided to just use the cups instead. Maybe cups maybe cost $1.50 from Dollar General, and you fill them with the water and the food that they supply with the flowers, and voila, you get this beautiful bouquet and centerpiece. I wanted to go ahead and show this bubble machine because it will be utilized at the graduation event, not like I intended it originally because the weather did not withstand. It rained, the wind was blowing, so forth, so on. But I knew smaller kids would be at the event and I knew they would enjoy the bubbles flowing everywhere. But I also wanted to entertain them by making and creating some water balloons. And so that's what I did with some smaller balloons that I had purchased. And I would put these in the little tubs. As you'll see, they'll be sitting out in the yard part of the party, and the kids will be able to get them and play with those water balloons because it is hot on this day that I'm doing it, but the weather is not supposed to cooperate. So we'll see how it goes. Moving on to outside and working with my round arches, I decided to buy these pool noodles and they were $1 each. And so I wanted to try to use these because my original idea was to add balloons and flowers to the round arches. But after I saw what it looked like, I didn't want to add any flowers to it. But anywho, the pool noodles was going to serve just as a cushion. I thought I needed a cushion because creating balloon art, I did not want any of my balloons to pop. But yeah, I ended up not needing the pool noodles on one of the arches, and I just kept it on the other arch. Didn't really have to, but I just figured it looked different. So you'll see what I'm talking about later. But here I'm just simply cutting them in half. Not in half. I'm putting a slit in them so they'll actually fit over the poles of the arch. I decided to move back inside to test out my bubble machine, and that little thing was fabulous. So I purchased 4 of those from Target, and they'll be part of the process that we do later. Then I decided to go ahead and blow up my balloons. Now this is 2 days before me actually needing the balloons, and I was concerned that the balloons would not hold air. I decided to try to use these little clips because I figured if they didn't hold their air, I could just take them all back down and re-blow them back up again. But I'm going to tell you now, that was a disaster. I would not suggest using the clips if you're doing balloon art. Tie the balloons And you can do it 2 days before, but I did learn later from another content creator that it's best to blow them up. Go ahead and tie them up how you want to tie them up, and then put them in plastic bags. And that way it won't oxidize. And so, or it won't oxidize as much and lose any air or color or what have you. So that's a tip number 2 for you guys. But I didn't know that at this time. So I'm here just blowing balloons up, and preparing them to put on the balloon tape that I have. Because again, this is my very first time doing balloon art. So all of this was new to me. And I'm basically going off of other YouTube content creators as to how they do it, different tips that they offer. And, that's what you do. When you want to learn how to do something, you learn from the best who already know how to do it. And so that's what I'm doing here, preparing the balloons. And my mistake was trying to use these little clips. Don't do that. So here are the finished balloons that I attached with the clips, and they look pretty. And you can use the clips for, I guess, events that are short term, very, very short term, not anything overnight, because I left them standing in the box overnight. And as you'll see later, some of them deflated. And so I was able to take the clips off and re-blow them up as I had figured, but that was a lot of wasted time, when if I had known I could just blow them all up and then put them in the bags, that would have saved me a lot of time. But here I am applying some of the balloons to the balloon strip, because there again, I really wanted to see how it would look. And I am applying these with the little clips. These are the balloons that has the clip attached to it. But again, most of these I have to end up taking off the balloon strip and blowing back up again, because they do lose air later on. I have to admit, though, it was fun putting them on the strip and seeing it all come together. This process was so easy, and it made sense after I started doing it, how they get that beautiful clustered look of the balloons. And if these had been tied up instead of the clips on them, I believe it would have remained inflated. The balloons would have kept their air, and I could have still used them 2 days later. Again, all of this is being done on Thursday, and the event is on Saturday. So there's nothing wrong with blowing them up at least 2 days in advance, from what I can tell. But as you see, deflate. See, this is the next day. This is Friday that this is happening. One thing about event planning and decorating and so forth, you have to have space. I have stuff everywhere. I have balloons everywhere, but I got an idea from another content creator to attach some balloons to my lamppost. And so I decided to try that in this section right here that I'm showing you. And it came out really, really, I really, really like this. And I was able to stick my bubble machines inside of my lamppost and give it that bubble look. So that would, be part of my opening centerpiece as guests would walk in. You'll see the picture. I don't know. You actually should have seen the picture in the beginning of the original setup. This was part of the original setup, and the bubbles worked fabulous on these lampposts. And they came out, and the balloons at the bottom. Oh, I was really, really proud of this. I really was. Oh my God. That's a lot of bubbles. Okay. So my tip number 3 is always take pictures. As soon as you see how beautiful it looks, always take pictures, because you never know what'll happen. I'm here setting up my tables. These are makeshift tables that I'm using a column and some round boards that I found at Hobby Lobby. I already have my own tablecloths, so all I had to do was use my round tablecloths, and that's how the centerpiece will be. Moving on to the round arches. This would be the test, you guys, to see if I know what I'm doing, if I learned from the content creators. And this was just a test run of me trying to just attach it to the arch. But the real process, it was definitely a process. I learned so much. One thing I did learn that is not working for me during this process is trying to use that little bitty fish line. That didn't work for me. It's too slippery. My hands are too big or something. I don't know, but I couldn't use that. I needed to use ribbon or yarn, or another content creator said something about those really big flexible rubber band, the really big flexible rubber bands or balloons or something, but I'll have to go back and get the name of that later. And if I try that on a future balloon art project, and then I'll let you know. But for me, I had to resort to using ribbon. I didn't use it on this particular round arch, but I will use it on the other one because it was becoming very tedious. So now I needed to figure out how to make it actually stay and be attached to the round arch. And y'all, I was moving very, very careful because I did not want to pop any balloons. I was so afraid that the balloons would start bursting. I didn't want to grab it hard. I didn't want to, I don't know. I was afraid with this one, but I think I know in the future how to maneuver the balloons now. But this process was my first process doing this, so I just decided to take some of the ivy that I purchased from Hobby Lobby and use it to keep it attached to the pole. Now the top and the bottom, they're secured with two-sided, double-sided tape. And then, on the balloon strips, you always leave maybe one or two or three spaces so you can have that to use as well. So that's what I attached it with to the top, and I attached the bottom to that. But the middle, I just needed to make it stay on the pole. And so I just decided to, like I said, use the ivy and just have it hang. And because my intention, remember, was to go back at the end and insert flowers also into this design, but I decided not to do that. But the ivy really did make it look good in the end, so I'm glad I didn't need the flowers. I was also planning on using this separate balloon garland to go on the other pole, but I decided, I was thinking I may only end up using one of the round arches. And so I said, let me just see how that looks, since obviously I didn't have enough balloons. And I just decided to put this one on the same arch as the other one. And I'm so glad I did. It turned out really, really good in the end. Getting it up there was a different issue though, because you have to, again, I was afraid I was going to pop the balloons, and using the double-sided tape, I was like, oh, it's going to pop them. But it didn't pop. It did good. So here I'm going to begin trying to attach it to the pole using the ivy. And I was, again, almost afraid to use it because I didn't want the ivy to pop the balloons. But when I tell you it worked out, it worked out. So I couldn't have asked for a better option. I would rather use the ivy versus the fish wire, the little fish string. That fish string I cannot work with. So this is how it looks, you guys, and I was really excited about it. I'm for my first one. I couldn't have asked for anything better. This is the day of that I'm actually putting it together outside, and it's clear, it's sunny, but the rain is coming. But I didn't know when. Now I'm going to move on to my other one, and I actually broke one of my legs off of this arch by dragging it. I should have waited before I put these together, and that way I wouldn't have had to keep moving it from place to place all over my porch. But I wanted to see how big they were and what I was working with. But I should have just put it in one location and left it alone. But I kept dragging it, and end up breaking one of the legs. So that's why I have it propping up here. But for the actual setup, I came up with a solution as to how I'll get it done. But right now, I'm about to start attaching the balloons and the big 2-4 on this. Again, it's a tedious process I went through trying to use this fish line, and in the end I was like, well, I'm just gonna use some ribbon that I have and cut off the excess, and if it shows, it shows. I was really frustrated by this point, but it worked out in the end, and I didn't even try to fill up the whole arch. I just had an idea of filling up the top to the sides halfway because it was going to be decorated at the bottom anyway, so it really wouldn't have mattered. I ended up rotating the circle arch around and doing it a different way because I broke the leg. So I ended up putting the broken part at the top and trying to hide that part using the balloons. And the 24 is in position, it's standing. And by this time, I had really gotten frustrated. So I'm like, okay, I need to find a different way to hang these balloons up, because this fish string is really driving me nuts. So here I'm probably using some yarn now, not yarn, ribbon that I found. It's some silver ribbon, totally not in coordination with the color scheme here, but it worked. It worked. You'll see how much faster I'm able to tie these balloons onto the pole using the ribbon instead of the silk fish stuff. Um, no problem. Tied it with no problem. And I know that wouldn't be for everybody's design to do it that way, but my first try, I think it worked for me, and you don't even recognize that that's on there. You can't even see it. So it took me less than 3 minutes to finish the rest of the side. That little balloon that just fell down, that was something I was attempting to hide that broken piece with, but I'll have to decorate it a different way, which you'll see that later. But that balloon is something that I created, and it has my great-nephew's picture and everything on it. So something I thought I could use to hide it, but I had to go a different route. So here's the finished little project of the second arch. And here is the way that it's supposed to have set up during the entryway. As the guests enter, there are the two lampposts, and there's the first arch with the greenery attached, the roses on the table behind that. Perfect day, perfect setup, but the rain came and blew it forward, and it burst all the balloons that are on the lamppost. All the balloon lampposts burst. My arch balloons did not burst. So I was so excited about that. So here's the area that I'm about to set up. Over there is where the guests will walk in. In my mind, I was like, oh, they can come in and stop right there and take a picture. So I was able to put the tables out here. You see the arch back here. I did a makeshift stand so it could just stand up without the legs on it, because it was going to be designed with a bunch of different size trunks, and a table is also going to go on here because we also had dry ice effect that we were planning on using. If the rain had not came, it would have been an ideal situation, but the rain did come. But that's why you take pictures. You take pictures before anything happens, because even if something happens, you can always say, well, this is how it was supposed to look. And it worked out, and I did just that, because it started raining and we had to run out and grab all the pictures and all the things that I did not want to get wet. There was some things that I didn't mind getting wet, like the chairs, tablecloths, all that. Even the balloons, I didn't mind them getting wet. The roses had such a beautiful look to them after the rain, that dew effect that hits the roses and the flowers and trees and leaves and stuff. It had that effect, which I'm going to try to get a picture snapshot of that in this video so you'll see it. But this is how the original setup was supposed to look if it had remained sunny and beautiful as it is at this present time. So this is how the setup looks after the wind came. It wasn't raining yet, so I went ahead and made these two makeshift tables to go in front of the arch, because once the arch fell and burst the balloons on the lamppost, I moved the lamppost back because I still wanted the bubbles to come through. But I moved the lamppost back and put these two makeshift tables there to help prop up the arch. And so after it rained, it didn't blow it anywhere. It was secure. So that's why I ended up doing that. And these are just a few of the designs that I did to kind of make it be okay that the fact that rain would come, the wind would be blowing, using pictures and the trunks and some of the flowers, the roses, the dry ice effect. It really made the area look good enough, and if the rain hadn't came, it would have been a really pretty presentation with the dry ice. But like I said, you have to go ahead and set it up. Go ahead, take your pictures, take your videos of what it will look like. And this is just a test run of the dry ice. This is not the true effect that I wanted to show, but I did need to see if my idea that I had in mind would work. So that's what I was doing here. Well, that's it, you guys. I do thank you so much for joining me on my first balloon art journey. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.